if you just looked at the game results and you just check, oh, I wonder how the series is going, you just look at the game times, you'd be like, wow, T1 absolutely obliterated them, right? Like, it must have been a 10K gold lead. It must have been, to have 23-minute games is just crazy. You look at the series we saw yesterday, it couldn't have really been more one-sided for Gen G. They were beating Cloud9 in, what, 28 minutes?
Yeah.
These games are like 4 or 5 minutes faster. It's just nuts.
I love the adaptation here from JDG. I think the Cassante is such an incredibly annoying champion to deal with. We saw how much impact Faker had on it, and it takes away so much of the space that an AD carry gets to have in team fights. You were actually one pointing it out, so the amount of like flash Q freeze that Faker was able to hit was huge. A lot of adaptations here because this does mean that the Rakan will be open, but the Lulu gonna get taken away here as well.
Yeah, likelihood as well for an Annie flex type situation is a little bit higher as well with how much people have been favoring this Lulu. There's an opportunity for Knight to hold on to his mid pick and just put the Annie on the bottom side of the map. But not likely because Knight has been so good on the champion. We'll see where T1 are going to go without the Cassante available. I
mean, obviously, the last fight didn't go well for him, but prior to that, he had been having a really good game on the Annie as well. Faker, though, was outstanding on the Cassante. We were kind of talking about it. It feels like he's warming up into the series. Game 1, not so good. Game 2 was okay, and Game 3 was really impressive from Faker on the Cassante. The roam bot, finding the angle, getting a trade kill, surviving, finding these Q3 flash plays where he's flipping in, where he's threatening Ruler. Is just making it really hard for Ruler to actually find space to get damage out. And you guys have talked about that range differential between the Aphelios and the Jinx, and it does feel like that has been critical in a lot of these fights where you have to be so far back to not be getting threatened.
Well, now once again, we're going to have that Wukong available. It's been banned away from Kanavi in so many of these games, and the engaged trio of Annie, Rakan, Wukong is going to come through. It does mean that Xayah is likely to be banned away, so not going to have the lovers duo there towards the bottom side. But Ruler, he's played quite a few Rakan compositions there towards the bottom side of the map, and we'll see what he does have in store for us as Tahm Kench, immediate response to that Rakan pick.
I mean, I love that. Look at what they're showing. Their first 3 picks are all dive, right? It feels like JDG came away after that game and they said, the problem is we haven't been able to get to Guma. We need to be able to threaten the backline. We need to be able to put the pressure on him that they're putting on Ruler in these 5v5s. Tahm Kench kind of denies a lot of what they're looking for here.
I mean, you saw even in the previous final fight of the game, between the damage that Kanavi and 369 were able to output, Guma was like at like 10% HP, right? They were very close. If he goes down, team fight might go completely different. So I do understand, but now this is so much of the pool taken away here, and something like Aphelios can really struggle, I think, specifically into the Nautilus when you have the point and click CC to take him down.
Absolutely, and no Enchanter, no real peel that has been drafted thus far. Where will Ruler go? Will he risk something like an Aphelios? Will he go for a much more defensive pick? Things like Ezreal, you have seen paired with this a lot around the world, but it's such low damage, I don't think it would really work.
For JDG though, don't forget how lopsided that Annie versus Nautilus matchup was, right? And particularly now with the Kindred locked in, looks like we're going back straight to that.
Oh man, if this is Kalista Rakan, like Ruler and Life together were just unstoppable with these 2 champions. But nope, it's not going to be that. We're looking at 200 years himself, and Ruler has been pretty good on this pick at the moment. Pretty high stock on the Aphelios, and we'll see what they do lock in for that last pick.
And to be fair, there's not really any dive on the T1 side. There's the ultimate, but this is kind of the same problem that T1 ran into with their composition in the first game. Obviously, it's not a Braum to close the door. Malphite would change that up.
Yeah, that's a bit of dive.
He needs a dive buddy. Like, there needs to be someone to go in with Faker, or Faker will just be on this one.
What do you mean?
It's the carry of Kench.
Why are you laughing at me? That's what Abyssal Dive is for.
It's a different beast. You're right.
I love the team fighting core from JDG, and I think they have exactly the same setup, although even stronger now added with the Rakan, that T1 was unable to get anything done with, right? Also, that's an 0-7 Malphite, so good luck with that one, Zay.
It's the 0-7.
Yeah. Not looking too hot. Specifically, the way that they were able to stack CC on top of Owner and never given the opportunity to land Respite. They didn't even need to use your cask to knock people out of it because Owner barely got to use it.
Yeah. He just wasn't allowed to press his R button in the majority of times, and that is going to be even more accentuated in this particular game. You've layered a Rakan on top of it. Once again, you've got Kanavi there with the Cyclone to pair with this Tibbers. So, I mean, theoretically, Owner is just going to spend his entire time in the sky, and then is going to have a black and white screen. That is kind of how it's going to look. But we'll see whether JDG can have a repeat of game one, because that's precisely where they need to get back to in order to bring us to some silver scrapes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think, with that Malphite coming through, the Nautilus and the Malphite could put a lot of pressure onto this Aphelios. So there is not a Lulu, there is not a Thresh, there is not any of these traditional pairings that you would normally have with it. It is going to be this Rakan, and it's going to be all about the engage. It feels like these fights are going to be decided in the first moments. For JDG, they have so many forms of engage that are so powerful, but if you mistime it, if you don't lair perfectly, if Owner is able to deny a lot of that with the Kindred ult, if Carry is able to pre-devour someone like Guma as that Flash Timbers comes through, all of a sudden, it's going to fall apart really fast against this double marksman comp.
Yeah, and as we walk out onto the Rift, we'll also get to find out whether it is the Jinx versus Aphelios that was that big difference maker in that game number one, because that is the big change. The fact that it's Gumayusi now on the Jinx and it's Ruler on the lower range, more volatility of this Aphelios.
Also worth noting, it is Comet on 369. He doesn't want to play tank, but when you're playing in a Malphite, you want to try to force him to build some MR. That's kind of what you're hoping for. And if he's not going to build any MR, then you're just going to try to be able to punish that lane a little bit more. Obviously, Malphite loves to be stacking armor, but there is double AP soul laners here on the JDG side, so they're going to be hoping that he can't just completely ignore them and stack armor against Ruler.
One thing I do want to highlight when comparing to game number one is that without the Braum, and with Gragas going AP as well, like Gragas still is fairly tanky, but there will be a lot more suitable targets for T1 to actually engage on, right? This time around, even though I expect JDG to be the aggressor, as it looks like they are going in for a late invade here.
Yeah. Immediately, Zeus going to be spotted on that ward. Kanavi and Knight waiting in the wings, so it will be that cross-map start here for JDG. As long way around is going to be taken here by Zeus. Should be able to get to the minion wave before it does fall down, as T1 look to give a bit of a leash and then head towards that bottom side.
Yeah, I'm just so interested to see where Owner is going to go from here. Obviously taking that red buff away from Kindred on the first clear is going to take away a lot of your skirmishing power. But he may just go straight down to enemy red. I do like this a lot. You could just level Q, hop over the wall. It will be spotted, but I don't think they're really in a position to actually contest this at all. Bot lane is both just level 1. If they peel back now, they'd be losing so much XP. Faker is clearly trying to shove mid. Kanavi's going to come through, and they're going to try to look for Faker.
Well, Faker could be in a little bit of trouble here, as he does have the passive, puts it down onto Knight, but not going to have much more afterwards at level 1, as Faker is going to try and get over towards Owner. Into the brush they go as first blood goes to Knight, and Owner just needs to get over this wall. He's going to get stunned up, and it's a repeat of game number 1. No, it's not. Owner gets himself out of there. Not quite out of the woods just yet, but should have another dance of arrows to get himself to safety if he needs it.
But this is an amazing trade for JDG. They're able to take down Owner, get him down on camps, although, hold up.
All right, here's that engage that we were talking about before, as Knight looks to try and answer one back on Owner, but not this time. And it's 1-1.
That is huge. The roam from Carrier making all the difference, because I agree, it was such a good start for them there. But now getting that kill back, very, very nice.
Because they were able to trade up a kill, they were able to trade up a camp as well, because Owner immediately had to rotate over, only got the red buff, whereas Kanavi also was able to get the Raptors. But thanks to Carrier's roam, it's equalized somewhat, still advantage to JDG, but means that the game doesn't get blown open the way I think it did in game number 1.
Yeah, the difference is that it's not Owner that falls down as well, so this Kindred can start to get some advantages around this jungle as we check out the path here from Kanavi.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really interesting, right? Going red Raptors, he sees that they're actually going to be going for this counterplay, so he just goes straight towards Faker mid, crosses the map, wants to defend his camps, and wants to attack Faker. The level up from Knight is really the critical thing. And he had the presence of mind to actually turn around and finish a minion as he was walking out, so he was very clearly tracking his XP bar. And then the flash in, the double flash across, the W not enough to actually finish off Owner there from Knight, as Owner's able to flash out. And then Carrier is already on the move here. You can see him on the minimap moving up, is spotted, but Knight in this awkward spot where he doesn't want to walk back into Faker because Faker has flash after having TP back.
Yeah, and Carrier hits the Q there, basically guaranteed the W, even if Knight moves upward, will walk into the rest of T1. And they get the trade off.
So still very intense here in this game number 4. Kanavi will be able to grab this Rift Scuttler. How did the flips go as far as these scuttles are concerned? It is going to be that one stack picked up by Owner, so did do well in that front as well. Now we'll be moving up, looking for Kanavi. He gets out of the brush, but right as Owner is here. Good timing from the T1 jungler, as Zeus could still be in a little bit of trouble. 369 with a lot of control up here, but Owner is going to keep him alive.
And you can see how different this mid lane is already going compared to game number 1. When you lose your flash as Annie and you're up against Nautilus, anytime you don't know where Owner is, you have got to be terrified. It is so difficult to actually walk up in those situations because Nautilus has such powerful gank assists. So, you know, it's a massive CS advantage there for Faker.
And you also see there's actually significant amount of warding in the topside jungle from JDG, trying to make sure that Knight does have a little bit more safety. Post 6 though, particularly with flash down, like it doesn't matter how safe you play, it's almost impossible for you to circumvent it as long as Kanavi isn't there to catch and hold off any engage that T1 might try to throw out.
A bit of biffo here towards his top side as Zeus. Not a whole lot of mana available. 369 winning out on the trade, but there's a full minion wave for him to slurp up. So Zeus is going to look to go home and use his teleport to get himself back up here. So as it turns out, not actually a massive amount going on there, but it is going to be a wave in advantage for the Gragas. Missing has been in that brush for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's really waiting. Kanavi going to be spotted there by the Vision plant. But Missing, you have to think he's going to look. Kanavi is down here. They're going to go, almost certainly.
Oh, man. Gumayushi doesn't know as there's the grand entrance. Immediately the flash does come out. I think he smelt that something was up there, but no flash on a Jinx is absolutely massive as 369 in a bit of trouble here. Explosive Cask is going to come through. Both of these top laners have teleported back in. As now 369 evening things out. It was almost exciting up there between these two top laners.
Yeah, Zeus just spending the ult aggressively. Owner is here though, Missing in trouble.
Carrier not going to be able to quite get there as Missing just battle dances his way out. No Abyssal Dive to be able to pick up any more knockups, and that is going to mean that JDG will survive. Meanwhile, 369 in trouble once again, but does have some barrels and a belly and will be all right.
And actually, we didn't catch this on camera, but Zeus tried to Abyssal Dive over the wall when the play on Guma was coming through and wasn't actually able, so he had to walk around, which means he was just a few seconds late. And then as a result, Gumayushi was forced to flash.
So now T1 still going to try and look for this first dragon, will be the Mountain. So pretty high value as far as just single Drakes are concerned, but the dragon stacking once again, as it was in the last game for the first time in the series, going to go over to T1, and Infernal will be the next one. Wind and Fire available.
And another Scuttle mark spawning there, it looked like. So Owner going to be able to grab his second mark pretty much for free. It's always such a good position to be in there as the Kindred. Two very early marks here for Owner.
Do we want to bring back the first fight that we saw where Knight did have his flash available? I'm looking to see what is going to happen when we get to the first actual fight as Faker.
Oh, could be in trouble here as Kanavi only level 5, no Cyclone available. And Faker is going to be able to dredge line his way out, just wanders past the Popcorn Chickens and will get back to lane unscathed, or relatively unscathed.
Yeah, Kanavi not able to get between him and the wall and try to block that hook. Not sure if they would have had enough to actually kill him off or not though, because we do see Carrier and Owner. We're heading over to that side of the map. And Carrier has now been spotted up towards that Herald spawn. And T1 is going to send Zeus towards bot. JDG are matching the move here. They're sending their bot lane up towards top, so they clearly want to look to contest. And with Zeus having no TP, this is a temporary 5v4 on the top side of the map here for JDG.
Yep, looking for a Rift Herald potentially here as Shelly's been up for a few seconds time. Faker teleporting back into the mid lane, but mid control is important for taking these Heralds, and you can see Ono not quite in the pit just yet.
I think Kanavi's trying to get 6. I have to assume that's why he's going to his red buff right now, because he is on 5. We'll see if he actually hits 6 as he does get this, because that would be massive for the fight, and that would make sense. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He gets 6. They're trying to delay for this, but no one has gone down towards bots. He would have already leashed this. JDG will have time to get Kanavi up there, though, so Kanavi shows up, level 6, and does have the red buff.
Yeah, Unstoppable Force available here for Zeus as well, as the hook is going to go wide onto Missing, who is just looking for an angle, looking for an opportunity into this one. Doesn't have quickness available, as 369 just getting held out by Carrier here. Belly Flop is going to come through as Ruler is going to rotate down. It is going to be Rift Herald going over to T1, but JDG still in position if they want to go for some sort of fight, but it's looking like a bit of a pincer angle. And those don't generally work out. T1 just grab the eye and they'll walk away.
And even without the Devour available from Carrier, there was no opportunity. It's 369.
Yeah, he is going to flash in. Doesn't manage to get the body slam onto both of them, but it's still going to be fine. The Jinx is taken down and Carrier just going to vacate the area.
T1 get caught completely off guard Amazing play there from 369. Slings back into the fog, able to get the flash body slam setup. And there you see that lethal combo. Knight ready to collapse.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost Knight to flash, which is actually really critical there.
Yeah.
So he will still be able to hold on to that. It is a trade of flashes between Carrier and 369, but they get the kill. Owner now looking for the dive here. TP comes in response immediately from Knight.
Yep, Faker holding onto the depth charge actually, not wanting to use it preemptively, and Owner is just going to skip by. And Tibber's just going to do some reconnaissance here towards the top side.
Just a nice little bit of pressure there from T1. You know, it's always worth looking for those types of plays. I love that they didn't overcommit. They're clearly tracking the fact that Knight has TP. That is now down and will potentially give them a little bit of tempo if they want to play through sides.
With the kills that they picked up, though, and with the Herald not yet being dropped, JDG is currently ahead on gold. We've seen that these early game gold leads have been of fairly insignificant importance depending on who they're on. When we look at the gold lead, we do see Ruler actually substantially ahead here of Gumayushi, currently sitting on about a 500, 550 gold lead. And getting an early mythic on your AD carry can be the difference maker when we get to, I assume, a fight over the Infernal Drake that's spawning in about a minute and a half.
Yeah, Infernal pretty powerful here. Will even out the Dragons if JDG can utilize this advantage to get themselves over there. Zeus just taking some barrels. 369 having a good time here on the Gragas as this game is continuing. AP variety, like you guys were saying, has been confirmed. That Lost Chapter now in his back pocket. I like this. We've got some birds here in the waterfall. Kind of broke my brain for a moment. Thank you very much, London. As Ruler here towards the bottom side, we'll just push another minion wave in. So, anything you want to talk about, guys?
Well, we do see it's Sunfire Cape again for T1.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about who did the most damage in that game that we were
tell me.
discussing, Sunfire Cape? It was, in fact, the Sunfire Cape wielding Ornn on the top side of that.
He did have the upgraded Sunfire, so.
He did.
Maybe that was the difference maker. I mean, I like talking about birds, just that, you know, generally...
What's your favorite bird?
Well, I only know the Dutch word for birds, so... Because, like, I don't
That'll work.
know...
We'll just nod and smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay. You can just say the Dutch
Yeah.
word for the bird.
No, but I feel like that won't make any sense. No one will know which bird I'm talking about.
Well, the Dutch viewers
But
will.
you will, and that's the main thing. Ruler, he also knows the plates are being taken away from his bottom lane outer turret. Rift Herald's going to come down here as well. It's missing. Does get himself out of there. And Shelly will be able to claim some money here for T1. So that one gets a charge. Better than their one from the last game. Is Gumayushi down to 50%, but just looks to push the rest of those minions towards the turret.
Do note, as we are about to get in this fight, Knight has flash available. Same for Missing. Same for Kanavi. So much dive available here. And you see T1, looks like they're going to respect, at the very least for now, might wait for JDG to actually start up this objective.
Well, Guma just has too much gold. I don't think they want to fight without his Mythic. He was sitting on 1,300 gold there. He did cash out his call. They got the tower charge, so they're at the very least going to wait for that. We'll see if JDG do try to rush this. Doesn't look like they are. They're just establishing some vision around that dragon area. And Kanavi now looking like he may head over towards the pit.
This is what we wanted to watch, though, which was top laners taking some damage left and right. It is going to be Sunfire Cape completed. Everfrost done as well for 369. So battle items at the ready here for our Malphite and Gragas. Faker could be in a little bit of trouble here as the Grand Entrance does come down. Hook is going to try and mitigate some of that CC as they look to turn it around. Battle Dance gets missing out of there, though, and Owner's not going to be able to follow up on that one. And so in the end, not a massive amount of resulting action.
Yeah, not huge. They do get the heal off, but they are trading out the Nautilus ult. If Missing can get back to this fight, he still has his ulti available. I feel like it would be ill-advised for T1 to try to fight this without the Nautilus ulti. That's one of your best tools for putting pressure on Ruler.
Yeah, 369, actually, I think he's been unseen getting into this brush here. This cast could be absolutely massive as the Drake is going down low. JDG biding their time. Kanavi gets himself in there. Huge ult to come through, and once again, they just eviscerate the Kindred. And Zeus is going to go down as well. It's a double for Kanavi as now Ruler taking matters into his own hands, but no. They are going to back away towards this Drake and even up that dragon counter.
And we highlighted the potential for Knight to go for a flash play, and he delivers. Again, the setup and the amount of dive that JDG have with this Wukong and Annie combo is almost impossible to play into as carrier.
Yeah, once again, just going to be going aggressive, but not going to be able to find the knock-up onto Missing. Ruler could be in trouble here as the Tongue Lash will connect. Zap's going to come down as well. As Zeus is just barreling towards the turret. Ruler manages to flash to try and get out of the way, but it's not going to be enough. Gumayushi, he gets excited. to as well, as now 369 wants to try and clean up. Gumayusi does have the flash, doesn't need to use it, but the Abyssal Dive is interrupted still. Gets devoured over the wall, and he will be fine as the Mega Blast Cone is going to deliver T1 to safety.
Yeah, beautifully done there from Keria, getting him out to safety as it's 2 kills into the pockets of Guma. The beautiful TP flank coming through from Zeus. As 369 and him will continue to scrap, but JDG commit both their TPs down towards bot, can't actually get anything from it. They lose both of their bot laners here. Ruler trying to sidestep the zap, cannot do it, goes for the R, flashes away from the Malphite ultimate there. The R with the red gun does heal him up a bit, but it's just too little too late. Gumayusi gets the first reset, and you're never getting out once he gets that.
Yeah, the moment Guma gets excited, makes his way over with the movement speed, Zeus standing guards, devour over the wall, and it's a straight-up heist, right? They were able to get the kills and get on out. And as we saw there, actually, that's a big gold swing because JDG was looking to pull decisively in the lead after the play that they found around Dragon with that wonderful engage. Now, closer to one another yet again.
And Guma pulling out to a lead here once again here on the Jinx, getting those 2 kills.
Oh, now they're just bearing down on him in the mid lane. The flash hook not going to land there. Ruler getting himself out of the way.
Yeah, that Gale Force was beautiful from Ruler. Very quick reaction time. It didn't need a lot of distance to cover there, but able to just kind of squeeze himself against the wall with the Gale Force. T1 moving up towards that top side. The Herald has respawned. They may be looking for it. JDG, though, posturing for a fight again.
Yep, 369 just looking beefy, moving towards them. Doesn't a fair bit of damage, though, as Faker is going to deliver himself once again, but just going to walk away.
But remember, there's no flash on Ruler, and Malphite has ulti again now, so this is so tough to fight. He has no Gale Force, that was forced out, no flash, so I feel like if JDG try to fight this, it's going to be a lost cause.
Yeah, particularly with Faker still having his depth charge. So as long as that hits on Ruler, you can't fight. Unless JDG can immediately blow up the backline of T1, it's not going to work, but Keria has Devour available again.
Oh man, it is very, very tense. Second Rift Herald up and available, 369. Yeah, he is looking for the deep flank. Kanavi also in that Pixel Brush and Knight, poking his head around as well. JDG understanding if they do manage to get these angles, find the wombo combo, they can do it again. T1 just staying together, Gumayusi and Missing, firing shots at one another. I think I know where my money's at for that particular 1v1.
Kanavi has started this. He's trying to pull T1 into this area. He wants T1 to move into this area before 369 comes in. 369 has the flash, but they haven't spotted him, so they know he's looking somewhere, and Zeus is going to try to mark.
Yeah, and it's actually Zeus thinking that he's unseen. Moves towards the back of this pit. 369 still not seen by them as Kanavi looks for it once again. This time, Lam's Respite very, very early. The Devour comes through as well as Gumayusi is kept alive with that huge shield as well. But Ona once again falls down. Massive damage with the rocket. Guma gets excited yet again, but it's a huge bear that he has to deal with. And Carrier's now lumbering out. He's not going to be able to get there. Ruler delivered yet another kill as he collects the catfish.
It's a beautiful ult there from 369, who just disengages Gumayusi from the fight. He knocks Keria back in, he knocks Gumayusi away, so he's not in position to really follow up on the play. It bought so much time there for Ruler, who we were worried about being the one engaged on. 369 finds the angle, watch him over the wall right here, body slam, flash right in onto Guma. Everfrost comes down, Keria has the Devour.
And yeah, Guma gets away, but that's so much damage that you're missing, right? Kanavi already fed, able to take down Owner, and you see without the crucial damage there, if Guma gets like 2 more autos off, that fight is lost, and 369 makes sure that that is not the case. The most fed member from T1 by like a mile isn't in the fight, and patience pays off. JDG get a big team fight win.
It's just beautifully played from 369. You know, he has the disengaging ult, he drops his Q in between them, so he has to actually walk through that for the slow. And yes, he loses his flash off of that, but this is going to mean now next fight is in JDG's favor. Ruler will have his flashback, Guma's going to have no sums, there will be flash on Knight, there will be flash on Kanavi, there will be flash on Missing, which is going to make this next team fight a nightmare potentially for Guma or even for Owner.
See what they're going to be able to find here as the decoy is going to get collected by the dredge line, and Faker is not going to be tricked by it. On the bottom side of the map, you can see, picture-in-picture, Knight is just farming out these minions as the Drake is what T1 are looking at. Chemtech Soul, not exactly the most high value, but a teleport is still going to come through. Could be another 5v5 hook. Connects onto Ruler, and they get into the backline immediately. The Aphelios is taken down. How did they manage to find the angle? Missing's going to be taken down. It's a decent cast, but there is no follow-up damage anymore. And Kanavi, can he do it? Oh my god, JDG JDG, what are they doing? How are they finding these moments? It's Gumayusi that falls down and T1 are routed.
And by the end of it, even though they get Ruler, it costs them everything.
The turret is going to fall down, and now JDG with Tibbers in tow, not going to push any further. Low health bars on the tanky members, but T1 lose the fight.
T1 had the perfect engage, but it was the counter engage from JDG. Knight and Kanavi get into the backline, and sure, Ruler goes down, but the Wukong is wreaking havoc in the backline, and JDG will walk away with the Dragon as well.
Shedding some light on why T1 banned away the Wukong and not the Annie. Kanavi, the amount of damage he's able to consistently output in these fights is absolutely disgusting. It starts off, as mentioned, with what feels like a perfect scenario because immediately Ruler goes down. But just like last fight, Guma, even though he stays alive for a while, doesn't get to play the game.
Absolutely. I mean, Kanavi was already on 2 items, and the man has 6 kills at this point. Faker is out of the fight completely. Knight is running just wild in the backline there with the Wukong as well, putting so much pressure on. We're right back to live.
Yeah, in the meantime, another battle is going to ensue, but this outer turret stays alive by the skin of its teeth, if turrets had teeth. And I need to apologize, gentlemen. It's been team fights here where the AD carry, if they die, you lose the fight.
True.
And that's what I'm thinking. You know, I'm going through the motions, but the real carry on JDG this game is Kanavi. He is just absolutely gigantic. And with Knight and his bear, they are getting the work done. Absolutely fantastic stuff, and we'll see whether, as we tick towards Doomsday, which is 24 minutes in this game, whether it is going to be a moment that we can surpass and actually have a longer game of League of Legends.
True, yeah, we'll have to find out. I mean, JDG now with a significant advantage, they're up 4K. But yeah, it's difficult because if you send Malphite and Nautilus into the backline, yes, they can threaten Ruler as they did in that fight. They're able to take him down. But the problem becomes, sure, Keria can actually use the Devourer to buy some time, but Owner and Guma were both being threatened in that fight, so no one is really doing damage. And if no one is actually killing off Kanavi, if no one is killing off Knight, they have so much persistent damage. They have so much persistent threat in that backline. When they're in on top of Guma, he can't really do anything about it without sums, and he didn't have any for that fight.
Just been answered by JDG so far. Knight also now with the Void Staff in hand. 4 stacks on his Dark Seal as well. We'll see whether he creates that into a book. Could be another option here as T1 towards the Baron Pit. It's 22 minutes, so it is one of their favorite places, but not so far this series necessarily. JDG have been keeping them honest, forcing them to win team fights in order to win the game instead of taking Baron. And 369 is just taking down objectives around this map. JDG with so much more control than they've showed in the last couple of games.
And JDG are playing the side lanes way more heavily than T1 in this game, and that's kind of why they're opening up these gold leads. You know, you look at the itemization between the solo laners, it's a full item up for both. Zonia's is done. The luxury items are well and truly in the favor of JDG. They have a stopwatch in mid, they have a Zonia's in top. It is really kind of all on Guma, as all eggs are in the Gumayusi basket here on T1's side. Everyone else, I think, is a lot weaker than their counterpart.
Yeah, it's about a 1,500 gold deficit for everyone in the top half. Obviously, Kanavi even further ahead, almost approaching 2K. The only one with a gold lead is Guma, and as JDG is showing, you don't even need to kill him. As long as he isn't autoing, that's enough for now. And I think the one exception is if T1 is actually able to start off a fight, but JDG isn't letting them. And considering the comps, that makes a ton of sense.
But I mean, can you even look for a fight right now? Stopwatch, Zonia's, like,
Yep.
It feels so hard to really go into this next fight with confidence as T1. You know, the only real target there is Ruler, who does have his sums available now.
We'll see what JDG decide to do with this advantage that they've created for themselves. Right now, hanging out in this mid lane, teleport is going to come forward as Faker turns up. Oh man, that hook, it may not have necessarily been the best for T1. So Faker going to miss that one. We'll never know as Knight towards his top side, clearing out vision. Back into Fog of War is the Annie. And JDG looks like they don't like it. They don't like this particular angle. I'll wait for another one before they start up their fight.
But JDG are pretty split now. Ruler is very far from the rest of the team, so do T1 try to pull the trigger on that top side. 369 is wrapping around, he's nowhere near.
Now the hook is going to land, missing, not taking too much damage though as T1. They have set themselves up in this death ball, but JDG able to get themselves back into position.
Yeah, and if T1 are going to play as 5, they've got to be so clean on their engage. They have to attack one side of the flank from JDG.
Well, here's the flash. Tibbers comes down yet again, but this time he manages to get off the Lamb's respite. The charm is fantastic though. They take down the Rakan, but there goes the Kindred as well. Double kill for Knight as now Keria trying to save Gumayusi, and he does, as Faker is now just keeping everyone frustrated. Zeus went down as well. Another fight for JDG.
Faker will cut the wave, so there's no chance of an end. They're just going to go straight to the Baron here and look to take it. T1 have been devastated by Knight Annie once again. This man has been the difference maker. Finds the multi-man Tibbers. Despite Owner living to actually get off his ulti, it just didn't matter.
No, and even when you get the Kindred ultimate, you're not able to output any meaningful damage, but Ruler is, you see the issue, right? Because as you point out, they start up on top of Zeus, and Owner here, Zeus, yeah, if this was AD damage, he'd be feeling fine. Not the case this time around, and even though both him and Owner stay alive for so long, missing drills so much time, so much attention, and there's just no way for T1 to match the damage output.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much space created for Ruler. He's even flashing forward, Gale forcing in onto Gumayushi, trying to pressure him out. Credit, though, to Keria, who actually repositioned to get his locket off on Owner. That's the only reason he even got his ult off in the first place. Didn't make a difference in this fight, but it's those little things that can change these games. We've seen so many fights decided by the smallest of margins. It is JDG, though, now extending their gold lead further and further. They will move to Soul Point. They will collect some of these tier 2s. T1 is trying to trade back top, but they're losing tier 2 bot, they're losing tier 2 mid, and JDG are on the march. These minions are synced up. They're going to be crashing at the same time in 2 lanes.
Yeah, this is taking Dragon and 2 inner turrets in trade for an outer on the top side of the map. I think I have an idea about who that favors. 6,000 gold now the lead for JDG, bearing down on T1. Not one of the last 2 games that we've seen, which just seems to be over in the blink of an eye. This is just JDG suffocating T1 out of this game.
And we talked a lot about Knight, right, and his flash. The same goes for the T1 comp, I do think. Particularly this level, it's not like Zeus can start a fight unless you are only doing it to force a summoner. So it's up to Faker to go in for a flash hook, a flash ulti, a flash auto. But as long as that is not available, you see the JDG with how much confidence they just move up in sides, move up on the map, because they know very well for T1, it's hard for them to engage in, and that's not even counting, as you mentioned, Azil, double or 1 Zhonya's, 1 stopwatch, and a GA, and now Ruler also picked up.
Yep.
So even the one guy that it seems like you have to take down now can't be taken nearly as easily.
That's what's so difficult about it, right? Because we talked about, in the draft, JDG playing a much squishier composition here. There's more angles for T1 to find those fights. There's more targets that are viable. But at this stage, it's no longer really true, as these guys are completing all these luxury items, all these defensive items. And when you're on the T1 side, when you're down in gold, you cannot afford to go defensive. You've got to just maximize your damage. You've got to be able to try to find a pick. And it's Faker.
Speaking of picks, yeah, Faker in a whole lot of trouble. Keria going to have to use his Devour on the Nautilus. He just gets thrown around, flashes away. The Abyssal Dive's going to get Keria out of there, but Faker is well and truly down, and JDG will just turn it immediately into this inner turret and maybe this inhibitor as well.
And they're going to lose bot tower. This is incredibly low already, so 369 will be stepping forward as they show 4 top. JDG are closing in multiple angles, missing, threatening the dive, so T1 will have to back it up. They will have to defend at the Nexus here as they lose double inhibitors off a beautiful pick from JDG.
And all with 369, as you were saying, just destroying this bottom side. So that is another minion wave conga lining forward. Knight gonna have to try and get out of there as T1 reform, but 10 seconds on Faker. These Nexus turrets already so incredibly low. And JDG, they just don't want to leave anything in T1 space at the end of this game.
And why would they? There's no need for them to risk it, right? We've seen teams at the Nexus turrets not be able to clear the final hurdle if you just play it for the Dragon, the Baron that are coming up in about 2.5 minutes. Just suffocate T1 out of everything. They can't leave their base because they have 0 map control with 2 waves pushing in. You can even just run it down mid, right? With the amount of gold that you have right now, just make sure that T1 doesn't get a flank. Clear your vision. JDG should bring us to a Game 5 here in the upper bracket final.
It's exactly what we wanted. The other thing as well, Owner, only 3 stacks as well on this Kindred. Hasn't been able to find the marks that he's been looking for this game. This is what it feels like when you're a Kindred that hasn't been able to find your style of game. And JDG have been playing around it so exceptionally well. 8,000 gold is the lead. As you guys are talking about, we do have the Chemtech Soul available pretty soon as Faker looking for Knight. Okay, can they get this pick? It could actually be big for delaying this one as Gumayushi coming down with the hook is not going to land, and Knight says not today.
Doesn't even have to use a stopwatch. Just walks it off.
Or his flash just wanders away.
I'm a little bit surprised how easily he got out of that, but I just don't think T1 were willing to full send it on that play. They weren't sure exactly where everyone was, and 369 TPing in is going to be spotted by Guma, so we'll be aware that that is down up on this top side.
Okay, so a little bit of action, a little bit of something, but it is just going to be Knight heading back home. Ruler hitting level 16 here as well. 3 items and a stopwatch. Feeling fantastic. Gumayusi does have 1 full item in advantage, but just hasn't really been able to play the game so far.
Yeah.
I mean, if he does find that angle, if he does get excited, we could have another one of these moments where a team fight goes their way, but there is just so many other variables this game. The base is in absolute shambles.
And there's so many threats over on the other side that it's so difficult for him to find space because, you know, we've talked about Kanavi, we've talked about Knight. 369 casually has a death cap on his Gragas as well. So, you know, there's really 4 members that he has got to be so afraid of. You know, so it's really difficult to find that time to maximize damage. He does have a stopwatch now, so you know, Guma is prepared for this next fight. He's going to have double sums. He's going to have 4 items and a stopwatch, and there is that option. There is that angle if he can find it, but it will be very difficult because JDG are just going to set up in the topside jungle. They're going to deny vision. They're going to play around this Baron, and if T1 commits to trying to deny a soul, you could just lose a Baron for free. JDG have that luxury of not having to actually go to Dragon if they don't want it.
As we like to say in the LCK, it's a rock and a hard place type situation because when you have Soul, you have so much extra control of the map, or Soul Point, as it were. Kanavi lurking off to the side. He is so scary. 6-0-6 on this monkey.
But T1 is moving in. If they didn't do anything, they're just gonna lose the game, right? Like both.
Yeah.
369 and Knight are just shoving. They both are Knight has teleport as well.
And Kanavi, oh, he's gonna find Gumayusi! He's gonna have to go into his stopwatch, and now Zeus finds an ultimate, but these Nexus turrets are going down, and the Jinx is as well! This game, ladies and gentlemen, I think is just over in this moment. We're not gonna get another team fight because JDG will deny it, and they will bring us to game number 5!
JDG find the pick. They dismantle T1 in game number 4 here. They are charging the Nexus, and we are gonna get it.
It's Silver Scrapes again. This is what we do here. We bring 5 games of League of Legends as JDG looking to grab a few kills here towards the Nexus. Owner and Faker just lurking on their fountain, watching as things go on. Owner is going to be able to get that ult off, but it's not going to matter because this Nexus, after they get a couple of kills, will go down and JDG stay alive in the series.
And yeah, give us that zoom in on Kanavi because that man's Wukong was a force to be reckoned with in a game or in a meta that feels like it was about the AD carries. In this series, it was about the top side of JDG, making sure that even with that Kench, the opposing AD carry could not play at all. It didn't matter who it was. Always one of 369, Kanavi or Knight found their way, found access to Guma, and made sure that the team fights were only going JDG's way.
It's just so expertly played, right? And I do think these compositions that JDG are drafting can be difficult to make work because if you are not coming from those multiple angles, if you're not finding access in the backline, if you're having to fight through this beefy front line that T1 did draft, Guma's going to go crazy, but they always seem to be able to find that angle, to be able to find that surprising gauge. No hesitation when T1 would step that 1 foot too far forward, and that is exactly what you want to see from these elite teams, the best of the best.
And it was like T1 taking a little bit of a next step in their experimentation, right? They leave up the Wukong this time around that they banned in the last game, but they leave up the Annie as well, and it's this 1-2 punch that we've been seeing that has been so good. And look at this, just everyone was a threat. It's what you guys were talking about, and Gumayusi just had nowhere safe he could stand.
That's one of the most equally divided damage shares that we've seen in this meta.
Synergy.
Unbelievable here. Yeah.
I mean, all 4 members outdamaged Guma. You know, all 4 of the damage dealers, right? And that just shows this is not, you know, an attack on his play in this game. It's talking about the difficulty with which he has to navigate these team fights because there are truly 4 members that can threaten him. There's 3 divers plus the support as well who's going to be flying